All right, welcome back. We are COMP397 in the winter 2022 semester at Centennial, and it's week 5, part 1 of our broadcast and recording. And this week we've got lots to do again. Last week, let's talk about last week a little bit. We built an archway in Blender, which was pretty fun to do. Did we not? I think we did an archway. And what we also did when we talked about how to build an archway and the techniques we used some techniques we learned about loop, cut, and slide, and also connecting different points in Blender together. Again, this is a review for some of you. For other people, it was brand new. Most of you did very well on the stuff that you submitted to me, which is great. In Unity, we built a mini map, right? So that we would run around and we can see the view a little bit. We also built we used some of the mini map markers and everything else from last week. We didn't use Cinemachine to track the player. So this is one of the parts we didn't use. And well, we didn't install Cinemachine so far. We'll see how it goes as we continue. We may do that. So what are we doing this week? We still have assignment 1 part 3 release. Notice that I kind of kept that there because it was also released last week, but I'm putting it out there, making sure that you guys know. This week what we're going to do is we're going to make a simple pickup in Blender. It sounds super easy, but that's not going to be the focus of what we're doing in Blender. So the Blender part might be a little smaller. We're adding materials and texture to the coin, so a very simple coin, but this is the key. We're going to add some animation on the Blender side, and that's the interesting part, and then bring that into Unity and see how we can decode that and make it work. Does it work? Who knows, right? Let's see how it goes. So that is Blender, and then we're going to get right into Unity. We're going to make a death plane. So when our player falls off of the maze that we've made, we're going to use the spawn point idea again. There are some challenges here because remember the player is using a character controller, and that's going to be challenging to do. I'm also going to focus a little bit on Unity UI in terms of getting some stuff done with that, specifically a health system. I want to work on a health system with you guys. We've already done a little bit of Unity UI for those people who've never done it before a couple weeks ago. I'm going to get back into that this week with more stuff on the menu and as well as this piece. So really, it doesn't seem like a lot, but there is a lot, and I'll have the lab report ready for you by the time we're done all this piece. All right, so very straightforward. Let's get moving on this one. So the first thing I'd like to do is get you to bring up Blender. So join me on Blender, please. Again, we're running Blender, and we're going to do Blender as, it's not liking me trying to do this, but okay, it looks like I'm not going to be able to run Blender as administrator. I'm just going to wait. Don't know what's happening today. All right, so please bring up your Blender, and we'll talk about what we're going to do. So the gist here is not that we're going to make something that's fantastic. And the Blender hour may take a lot less time than the whole time we did last time with the archway. Any takeaways from last week's session in terms of how to do our archway and all that stuff? How did you guys find it last week in terms of difficulty on a scale of 1 to 10? Would you say it was very hard, or would it be very straightforward? How did you guys find it? By the way, I also have to thank Tricky at times. Jerome says, yeah, it was tricky. Anyone else? How about Tatiana? You were pretty good. You actually helped me out with some of the stuff too, right? You said, hey, do it this way and whatever. How did you find it last week?
Because I have experience, it's not hard for me, but I think for beginners it's very tricky.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think so too.
To use all tools and to find these tools.
Yeah, and that was the challenge. But the great thing now is that we have a good tool set that we can use. Thank you for that. To do stuff with. So just to introduce some additional tools for you as well. Blender has some wonderful tools we can use for things that we want to do. And one of the tools, I'm not going to do it yet, but one of the tools we can do is we can use Blender to do Boolean operations. Okay, this is kind of neat. I'm just going to turn off the light here so we don't get distracted in the camera that's in the scene. So let's turn that off as well. All right, and here we are. Here's our little cube. And I want to talk about Booleans a little bit. And let's suppose I wanted to chop away at Blender, right, with a Boolean. So like use another, we can use primitive shapes for this. So I'm going to kind of duplicate my cube. So Shift D to duplicate my cube. And let's move it across the y-axis here. So just press Y afterwards, right? So there's y-axis, right? And what you can do, let's rename these things. Let's call the second cube the cutter. Here's the cutter, right? And this, my cube is the thing that we're cutting, right? So I named the other one cutter, this one here, right? Because, and let's just put the cursor back to the center. The reason why is I'm going to use this one to chop away at this one. Okay, this is kind of a neat way of doing stuff. So what I can do is, let's suppose I want to chop away this part of the cube. So I want to use this cube here, this shape, to, in the intersection space, where it intersects with our other cube, I want to use this one to chop away at this one. So first let's go back to our cube. And I'll talk about the advantages and disadvantages here. And what I can do is go back to the little, which one called the wrench here. And from a modifier, let's use a Boolean modifier. Take a look at that. Our Boolean modifier. Again, there's some great things we can do here, but this is what I want to do. All right, so cool. So this is the first thing. The next thing is, once you've added the Boolean modifier to the cube, the main thing that we're doing, then you need to specify an object, right, that you're going to use as the cutter, if you will. Okay. So again, we can select the cutter, because if once you click this little cube, you select the color. So the cutter now becomes, you know, a place, something that we're going to remove from our cube. Okay. Notice that there are a few things here. There is intersect, there's union, and there's difference. Okay, let's use difference here. And then with difference, let's go and apply that difference. Okay, so now that it's been applied, let's take our other cube and move it away, and you can see that now nicely it's cut out the shape of our cube. Isn't that nice? But what did it leave behind? All right, so I want to show this as well. So let's select the cube that we cut. That was our cube. And we're talking about techniques here right now. I'm going to go to modeling. And in our modeling, we can see that clearly we've got a pretty good cutout on this part. But how about this face up here? Do you guys see any problems with this face up here? What are your thoughts? Is it good? We have a good face up there when we cut stuff out? Anybody? I just want you to say yes or no. It's a good face on the top here. We have this face up here. I cut this cube out. Do you think this is good, the way it is?
It's a bad face because it has more than 4 points.
It's a bad face because it has more than 4 points. In other words, we don't have a quad, right? So a quad, yeah, that's what it's called. A quad only has 4 vertices, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But we have more than that. We have 4, 5, 6 vertices. This is bad. We need to make at least quads. The best thing to use is quads or 4 shapes that have only 4 points. Here is also another problem here on the side. Look at this one. Also bad. Also bad, right? The bottom is okay. Bottom is okay. This side is okay. This side's okay. But this side, and the top, bad, right? How do we fix these? Using the K tool or the K key to cut it. So if I was going to use the K key, right, which is the cut tool, and again, if I was to bring this up, so here in Blender, if I was to press, K to cut, notice it says knife project, right? Well, it doesn't really do anything if I do it that way. Let's search it up again. So if I look at the cut, right, so I want to cut, or I want to use the K for tool, what it says is I could use a loop cut and slide, but that's not going to work on the diagonal, right? I could do, other things, but nothing cool. What else could I do here from a mesh perspective, right? We're looking at these areas here. Let's look up mesh, and let's look up things you can do. So knife project, that doesn't work. That's what we just did, right? We could do a split by selection, Okay, we could do that. We could bisect, right? But we haven't selected anything, right? So so that's something else we can try. There's different things.
This tool on the left, like cube which cut it on the left icons.
These tools here,
Below.
Oh yeah.
Here.
Edge. There it is, the knife. This one here. Now this is the knife. This is great. Thank you for that. We could do this, right? If you use the knife, again, the knife comes up. So that is a great little thing there. Or, let's just go back up to here. You could use the K key. The K key is the shortcut for the knife. If I was to type in knife, even on the search, right? It says intersect knife, right? Knife projects not one, but if I go intersect knife, it doesn't really do anything, right? So that's not really what we want to do. But the K key creates that knife, just like if I click on this little tool on the left, like we saw, right? So this here is the knife. There's also loop cut, all the same things we had last time. So you can click here on the left or press the K key and it gives me this little knife. Then I can select my object that I want to cut, right? So let's go back. So again, I want to use the K key, select my object, and then what I want to draw is draw my my cut, and I can draw more than one if I want to, but I don't want to. I just want to go here and press enter, and this cuts that part. That's the first thing. Let's do the same thing from here down. So again, K key, choose that vertice, go down to here, or vertex, enter, and same thing over here from this down. Now why am I doing it that way? Well, because this is probably the one place where I'm going to have the least number of additional quads. If I cut it this way, I'd have to cut it again that way. That's something I would do. So this presents us with this problem, right? So, but it saves us because we have a quad here, we have a quad here, quad here, quad here, quad here, quad here, quad in the back, quad in the bottom, quad on this side. Everything's a quad now, and this is great. This is going to be the way we would do it. I'm showing you this not because we're going to use the quad right now or any of this cut out, but because this is what the Boolean operation will do. It will cut it out, but leave remnants, leave problems behind, right? So you need to take care of those problems if you're going to use a Boolean operation, because you're going to have areas that are no good. Okay, let's try another one. Let's try the cut again. Now that we have this shape, let's go back to layout and let's try another shape to cut out. All right, so we're going to keep this cutter, right? We're going to keep this cutter. By the way, you can change the shape of the cutter as well, and sometimes that's really cool in terms of things. Let's use some other object to show you that. So I'm going to add in another mesh. Let's add another mesh. For example, let's add a cylinder. Okay, so now more of a challenging item. We'll call this, so far that was the cutter, but we'll make this we'll call this the slicer, just to make it something totally different, right? So we know it's a slicer we want now. And the cylinder's got lots of geometry. Okay, now I want to kind of bring this closer like this, where I intersect between the let's go from the top so we can see what it's cleanly going to do. So looking at it from the top view here, and I'm just going to bring it closer to kind of slice away at the corners here. And I want you to think about what this is going to do when I do this. Okay, so here's what I'm intersecting, right? Again, I'm going to select my cube, whatever, it's not really a cube anymore, it's my shape. And I want to use this slicer now to slice away at the cube. And I want to do the same operation. So again, I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go to my add modifier. I'm going to go to a Boolean, right? And I'm going to use the difference. And then I'm going to select the slicer, not the cutter, this one right here. And then I'm going to click here and apply. And then let's pull that item away and see what I've got. Oh boy. Now it looks nice. It looks really great what we've done. But I want you to think about before we look at the shape, I want you to think about and tell me, do you think we're going to have problems? If we had problems with the cube. All right, let's take a look at that now. And when I come into it, if I select, if I go to modeling, and as an example, let's go back to layout and select my cube and then go to modeling. And you see we have all this additional geometry. Now this is a quick way of doing it. Instead of me making the shape, using primitives is kind of a great way of doing it, right? Because again, these are all quads. Up here we have some issues, right? We have some issues here, but The reality is that up here, let me just move to face select mode. This one is actually a quad, all right? So believe it or not. So if I go to vertex select mode, you can clearly see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 verts, but there's a weird shape here. And yes, it's okay, but I don't know. You know, I'm not sure if I would be happy with that right there. Although there is some geometry support up to here. Problem is this one. This vertex right here, right? There's nothing to support it here, right? Which is a problem. So do you understand what I'm saying? So up here at the top, I have this extra vert. See this extra vertex right here? And we got this vertex because of the original cut that we had here. Okay, so. What about if we moved it? So let's say grab this vertex, and what I want to do is I want to slide it, and I want to kind of connect it with the other one. So, and remember that it's not going to really affect anything. I could also dissolve the edge. So I could do something like this. I could say, okay, let's switch to edge select mode and take this edge and dissolve it. So if I press delete, right, you can say dissolve edges. And now that edge is gone. I have a problem. I'm going to fix that problem. But now I don't have that other silly extra edge that I had there before, right? So I can do the same thing here. I can take this edge and I can delete it and dissolve edges, dissolve, which removes the edge. At the bottom, I don't have that edge because I never needed it. But at the top, I had that problem. I don't have a problem with any of these. These are okay, all right? But I do have a problem with the top face, and I do have a problem with the bottom face, okay? So now what to do? Okay, so let's go back to vertex select mode. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 vertices here. Let's say 13, if I count from here to here. 13 vertices, and I only have on the other side 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What should I do? Anybody? And I'm looking for opinions, all right? Because this shape is clearly not good on the top here. And we're going to come into some of this problem later on, right? So I did a cut. And up here, again, this is not part of your lab. I just want you to watch for a second. And I want you to give me some opinions. You can practice too, but I want you to tell me, what can I do up here? What should I do? What would you do if you had to do this? You could take this into Unity as is. That's possible. But the challenge is, if because of the way the faces work, this face right here is a weird face for Unity. It wouldn't know what to do with these things, right? And definitely from a deformation perspective, this might look weird in terms of the way shaders were handled in Unity or in another program. So typically what we want to do is connect all these vertices somehow, okay? Now I could do a vertical, some kind of fan where I can connect it to one vertex, right? But the smart thing would be is to start thinking about subdividing here, all right? So I could probably go with 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2 on this side. So I would, if I subdivided this edge, let's do that again. And I talked about subdivision, right, last time. Let's do one edge at a time. So I take this edge and let's subdivide it. Again, for subdividing, I go to edge and I go to subdivide, right? It gives me one cut. So on the left, it gives me one subdivision. Okay, so now I only have one. I need 2. So I'm going to go to 2 cuts. So for this edge, 2 cuts. And then if I accept it, so if I go to vertex select mode, you can see now that I have 2 cuts. One there, and one there. So I now have places to cut. So again, I can use my knife tool and start thinking about making those cuts happen, right? Because now I've got those cuts. But once I start making these cuts, right, what's going on over here? Right? Those cuts are a problem over here now. Again, just thinking, I'm thinking out loud, right? So if I start doing this work, right, it can lead us down a dark road and where we have to make a lot of cuts, you know, from here. So this is okay, but we're making cuts this way, and what's going to happen is we're going to have to make cuts on this side. Just FYI. Okay? And again, what I can do is I'm just going to do just a bit. I'm not going to do this whole thing because it's not part of the exercise today. But I can subdivide again, and I can think about how many cuts I need. I need 1, 2 here. I got 1 there. So I need at least 2 in there. I got this one here. And so I can do that too. So let's cut 2 more times, right? That's why I'm selecting it. And then I can switch back into vertex select mode and do the same thing. Just do, you know, kind of a cut, and I can select that vertex and cut. Do the same thing, cut here. And so now we have supported geometry. This geometry here is supportive because it's all quads, right? And you could do all the same work throughout the entire thing. And now we have additional problems over here because, well, what do you do up here to solve this problem, right? By the way, now I got to also think about that there is a way of solving this problem by cutting this side here and by connecting this side, and that we don't have to go all the way to the bottom here, but we're going to go there anyway because of this. So the challenge is, do we want to either remove this face, right, or remove this cut and allow me to go from here to here, because we're going to have the same thing happen on the bottom end, right? So that's something to think about as well. Okay, so we're going to make these cuts, and then we can think about how do we can subdivide this later on. So this is something we can do. Again, do I recommend this? Absolutely. If you don't, what's going to end up happening is that you're going to have you know, some part that you're going to need to do later on. Okay, so some things. All right, what about over here? So now we're going to have some issues. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I have 1, 2, 2. So I can probably go with this one here, right? I need 1 there, that one there. If I go straight down, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can go straight this way. So the only thing I need to do is just cut this face. So again, I'm just showing you what you can do. So here, I want to have 5 vertices. The first cut gives me 1. The second cut gives me 2. Right? 1, 2. So I need 5. So let's do the same thing. Let's subdivide. And if I go to 5, by the way, I can undo this, right? And then I go to, you know, vertex select. You can see now I have 5 vertices, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in there. And I have clean lines for where I can connect these up. So again, I can say K, take this vertex, connect it. But there's a problem here. Look at this. There's a problem right here. I'm just pointing it out so we can deal with it, right? This one's okay. This one's okay. Right? And this one's okay. And this one's okay. Those are all okay, right? Because we've dealt with all of these, and we've already set up geometry up here, which means we can do the same thing on the other side. Okay? Again, for an irregular shape is what I'm showing you, right? So this is a cut that's supported, but in here we got a problem, right? We need a quad. This is not a quad. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's more than a quad. So we could cut across this way. We could do that. We can make a cut that goes from here to here, which means I need an extra bit of geometry over here, but we're going to remember that there's going to be something similar on the bottom. For now, I'm not going to make additional changes up top. Again, this is just an exercise to get your brains going, guys, so we can start thinking about how to do certain things to solve our problems. Like we mentioned before, this is probably a bad cut, so let's just select it and dissolve it for now, since we're making other things happen. So dissolve edges removes it without making a hole. That's what it does. Okay. And also probably going to have to do that here because we're going to go straight down here, right? So dissolve this edge, right? So we're going to take away those edges that we added last time. They're back. We did actually we took away all of them. And now let's do the other side. Let's do the bottom side and go with the same structure. Now here's the thing. I don't have the same structure on the bottom as I do in the top, right? I could do the same thing here, but I won't, which means now there's some stuff we can do. We can start setting up some things here. One thing might be smart to do is make a straight cut down here to add a cut from here to here. So at least we have a quad here. I'm just putting it out there. This is an option. Okay, so I could do that. The tricky part is how to add it in. I can try and do Control R, but that doesn't do everything the way it is anymore. It actually messes up things. Look, it does weird stuff with Control R, so we don't want to use that. We could try and do the K cut. So if I go to, let's go back to vertex select mode, I could press K, but the thing is there's nothing to guide us from here to here. There's nothing to guide us here. All right, I'm just going to do a straight cut, and I'm hoping that it's straight, right? There's nothing that actually makes it straight, right? Even if I try to, there's nothing that does it for me. Okay, that's one thing I could do. I could cut this out and give myself some vertex in the middle. We can try that. So let's do that. So control edges, select that edge. Let's subdivide that one edge, right? And then go back into vertex select mode. And we do have a position, but it's not exactly under here because we never measured this. So how can I slide this around? Well, I could use this control. Let's undo. I could deselect all and just select this vertex. I could select one vertex and move it, slide it along until I see it. And the other way to do it is to use, put it in from one part. So for example, I can use the right side. That's where this is. This is the left side. This is the right side. So this is the front, right? This is the top. Remember, we just used the number keys for those. So you can see that we can align those. There's something that's straight. And we can kind of bring this in so we can start seeing this thing. We can put also X-ray on to start looking at where about this cut is. So you can see it's probably there. And you can do your best to try and align it as much as possible. That's probably the best you can do. Okay, at this point, because we didn't do things by eye. I mean, we didn't do things by measurement. We did things by eye. All right, so that's kind of the way it is. Now that I have this vert here, I can just draw the cut from here, from one side, so here to here. And it's not perfect, I know that, but at least there's a cut there. And I have a quad here, and I have a big quad over here, and now I can start cutting it properly. And there's also this other part right here, and I don't know what I want to do with this one yet, if I'm going to cut the bottom or not. Again, this is just for thinking, guys. What am I going to do? I know I can cut now, because I have this division from here to here, I can make another 2 cuts down here to match up the cuts up here. That's what I can do. So I'm starting off with that edge, and then again I'm just going to subdivide it twice, right, to give me that extra geometry, right? And now I have those extra pieces here and here, right? And I can do that cake cut again from here to up there, and from here to up there. And now I've taken care of the sides, right? And I've given myself a couple of additional places for this one to start cutting. So I've got like 1, 2, 3 quads to go. Maybe I can go over here with 4 quads, and I can start projecting these things on this side. But I want to do the other side too, because it's going to give me more on this. Well, I have nothing to do here on this side so far. How about this side? I do have things to do here. All right, so again, I want to take care of this side, so let's just subdivide this part right here. So I got this part, right? And let's go in from the other side, right? So this is the side I'm looking at, and I want to really come in from this side, which is, if this is the front, then control 1 is the back. This is the back, right? And so what I want to do with this back side here, then is I want to go into vertex select mode, and I see a vert right here. There's that vert. And I want to kind of select the bottom, right? It's hard to see because of the shape. I have this shape here, right? So even if I take it from the side, I have this really weird shape. Look. And why? Because, well, I've got this in my way, right? I could turn the slicer off. We can turn this off. I can also turn off the cutter to make sure there's nothing that's occluding my scene. So again, if I go from the front, it looks like this. From the back, it looks like this. This is better, right? So I kind of turn those other things off that were distracting, and now I can kind of work this way. All right, so one thing to notice, there's a vert there, but this line here, which is my edge, this edge needs to be cut at least in half. So again, I'm going to subdivide that edge. This is the way to do it, right? And I want to go into vertex select mode. And again, we can see that this is clearly off, right? You can see that I'm here, but actually I want to be over here, right? So maybe a little bit to the left. I'm just going to turn that X-ray off because it's going to mess me up. And I'm going to grab this, and then I'm just going to move this over just by eye slightly so it's kind of to the left. And we can turn X-ray back on to see how close I am. right? It's not perfect. I'm sorry. I just did it by eye this time. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this and make a cut. So at least I have a quad that's here, right? So I'm not disrupting this right now. I will eventually, but at least right now I'm not. What I do want to do is I want to run these lines down here before I do anything with the bottom. I want to deal with the top first, right? So I want to run lines, and I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cuts again. So again, just like before, I'm going to select that edge on the bottom. This is just a warm-up, guys. Okay, just a warm-up. And I just want to subdivide this, but 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There. And then get back into vertex select mode. And I want to join these up with the knife tool, right from here to here. And keep doing that for all of them. Hopefully you guys are starting to relax now as you're getting back into Blender from being over the weekend. And you know, you've been thinking about other things, and I'm just getting you to just do something that is, you know, that has nothing to do with anything else you've done so far this week. Awesome. All right, so we got some straight lines. This is good because they're all quads, long quads, but they're quads. And we have additional geometry down here. Nice. We don't care about this side right now because there's nothing for us to cut. We do care about this side because I have 1, 2 that I have to deal with down here somehow. So let's continue bringing these lines down. These are the 2 lines that I have to bring down there. So again, I'm going to select this edge now, this edge right here in this part here. And then let's subdivide this twice. So subdivide twice, right? I've got 2 new vertices on that edge. And then what I can do is connect these ones. So again, use the knife tool, connect that edge, that vertice, the vertex. And I can do the same thing. And you're going to say, well, wait a minute, now we have more to do. You're right, we have some over here. So let's do that edge. So again, edge select mode. Go here, subdivide, go to cuts, right? And deselect all.
Can we select more than one edge at once?
I could do, yes, I could do more than one edge at once. Absolutely. You can totally do it. And that's definitely a way of doing it because that means I can probably need this one too, right? So I could do that one too, and let's just do them all. So let's do that one and then subdivide that one. And you can totally do more than one edge. And I think that's a great way of doing it. But let's suppose we go back and we have these things. Let's draw these knife cuts now. So okay, knife cut here, and we can do 1 at a time. Look at that. You can do 2, right? So same thing. Save us some time because you can use the knife cut to just go from here and then from here to there, and then press enter and cut that out. So now we have a nice edge, and we've done all those things, and we're good to go, right? For the top, it's done. Look, we have all the geometry cut nicely. We don't care about this face. Now we have the bottom to deal with. I'm just turning it over so we can see the bottom. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nice. We have the middle one. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ha! Look at that. It's going to be weird, but it might work. All right, so let's try this out and see what happens. So deselect all. K-cuts. Let's do those K-cuts. Oh, let's not forget this one. This is actually something that needs to be dealt with in a second. So, like we said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Uh-oh. What do I do here? And same thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have the middle one. Let's do that middle one first. That one is easy. There, I've bisected everything. So now we only have to deal with this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this other one. We have the same problem here. So my recommendation is if we cut this one in half and we cut this one in half, it's going to cut all this in half, right? But there's maybe a quicker way of doing it. What if, I'm just putting it out there, and I'm not dealing with this stuff here. What if we started connecting these ones up? So we started saying, okay, let's start with this side. This is kind of a weird side. Let's start doing those ones because we need to cut these ones up, right? Because that's kind of the cuts we have to make. So you have geometry there. We have to deal with that geometry. Okay, so nice. All right, so now we can start thinking about those cuts are good, right? And on this side, we're looking like it's pretty good. I got 1, 2, and I got 1, 2, 3. What do I do? to fix this problem, right? Because I could do this and then this, but then I have another something that's going on there, right? And I don't have anything going on with this face. Remember I talked about this again. I could make another line that goes there, and I could cut myself there, right? And then that would be dealing with this right here, and I could cut this geometry in half and deal with it somehow, right? I could do that. What other suggestions do you have? Anybody? This is a mathematical problem in some ways, right? If you think about it. In some ways.
We still have shapes with 5 vertices on the top. Maybe we should deal with them first, and then we could get additional cuts on the bottom.
We could. We do have, this is okay. The top looks like it's fine to me. I'm not sure if you agree.
We have 5, yeah, here. We have 5 vertices in the middle, yeah, here.
Yeah.
No, in the middle.
Here?
This one,
yeah. I could. I don't have any there. There's no vertices there, but I could make some additional vertices over here, but then I'd have to draw lines down here. That is an option, absolutely. So let's do, if you want to do 5, then I could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But then I have these ones too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These ones here there's actual ones I have to deal with on this side too. If I make 5 cuts on this side, I'm going to have more on this side. My recommendation is just cut as many as you can on this side first, then we'll deal with these two and we'll figure out some problems. Let's see how it works. So do this one. That's a no-brainer. That's pretty straight. And then keep doing the other ones. So we get rid of the ones we can easily do. And then let's see, remember, we can always undo. That's the great thing. So we can try doing this. Like I said, you come to a point where now you have an extra cut, this one, right? What are you going to do with that one there? So we're missing, we have an extra n-gon, that's what it's called. It's called an n-gon. Okay, the n-gon is here. I have more than one than a quad. I have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vertices. No good, right? So I could split this in half, or I could split this in half, this whole line, and if I did that by drawing down a line from here, I could cut from here to here, from here to here, get an extra vertex here, and then connect it here. It'd be weird, but it would still be, I could connect it with a cut here. So that would be like here, because I could make a cut that goes this way, and then I have an extra quad there, so it would be technically a quad, right? Because it'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, not happy with that weird quad, but it could work. In other words, look, I could do something like this. So I could do this, connect it there, I could do that. I'm just saying, this is the thing. I could do that without doing anything there, and then I could make an extra vertex there. So let's go back here, and then just cut it. So subdivide it once. And then, once I have that vertex there on the bottom, I just need to cut from here to here and there. So I could do that. So here to here somewhere. Doesn't matter. Make sure the line is.
We still have n-gon on the top here on the edge.
Yeah, this is a problem right here. So we already have this issue, right? So that's another issue. Let's undo. You're right. This is a problem right here. Here we don't have an n-gon, but here we have an n-gon.
We
could use that one. Exactly. So let's use that one. Let's undo the cuts. And undo this cut. Let's undo that. I'm just undoing that stuff I made. You can undo. And that's okay. So what if I went from here to here, and then from here to here? That might be okay. Like just right across this way. Let's try to do that. So I'm just use a knife cut and do it all. So from here to here, again, just be as nice as you can. And then you can turn it while you're moving. Just be careful. So here, and again, you can try and make the thing as straight as possible with your view. Let's do something like that. And then from here to here, and cut, and you're done. So that cut is good, and we don't have an n-gon at the top anymore, and we have only one vertex. That took care of this. And now I can just go from here to here.
N-gon in the inner corner on the top.
Where? I don't know where you're talking about.
In the inner corner.
Okay, so
this long and gone.
oh,
The
see,
middle.
this
Yeah,
is a problem
this
too.
one, yeah.
So I could cut across this one. That's an n-gon. So let's go here to here. And then we could add geometry all the way down here. We'd have to do that just to come to here, right? And then press enter. At least we have that. Okay, so we have this one. And that presents us with a problem because now we have this piece, which means we'd have to come across this one to here. And let's do that. And that would solve some problems, right? So we can do from here all the way across to here, which we have, and then press enter, and we have solved some of our issues. And no, what do you think? Again, it's not perfect, but this is just an exercise to get your brain going, like I said. All right, so now what else? What else do we do back here? Now we're almost good, but we need an extra cut down here, an extra cut, or maybe some other solution. First of all, let's deselect all, and we have this extra line here. Let's make 1, 2, and see what happens. Okay, 2, 1, 2. So let's do that. So maybe we're going to be okay. I want to make, okay, actually, let's not do that. Let's go back into vertex select mode. Can I just do a cut from here to here and here to here, and then we'd be done? Let's see. So if I just did this from here to here, and from here to here, are we done? Are we okay now on the bottom? What are your thoughts? The answer is, it looks pretty good. I'm not sure if you guys agree, but with a little bit of work, it looks like we've taken away all of our n-gons on the entire object. So why did we bother doing this work? Why? Who cares about n-gons anyway? Right? We never thought about them before until today. And they were always there. So why do we care about them? Because of deformation. Okay? And what I mean by deformation is if I ever wanted to scale this thing proportionately, or if I ever wanted to add a texture for this thing proportionally, if I have n-gons, the texture and the way the textures are going to be modified are going to really look weird. From a layout perspective, it still looks the same as it did when I first did the cut. But the most important thing is the way that we cut it inside. Because what's going to happen when we export this thing to Unity is it's going to triangulate now. It's going to go back to triangles, right? And it's easy for us to make triangles out of quads. Because remember, all we need to do with quads, each quad can make 2 triangles, right? And there is a triangulate function to show you this, okay? There's a triangulate function. The way to do that is to go into layout and go to your wrench and go from here, and there is a triangulate modifier, okay? We don't have to apply it, but I want you to see it, okay? Now it says minimum vertices is 4. For every 4 vertices, it makes this triangle, right? So let's see what it looks like when I go into modeling. Modeling, don't see anything yet, right? But if I actually apply it, let's apply the modifier, and then go into modeling. Now you see what's happening. This is what I'm talking about when it comes to making triangles. It triangulates, and what happens in Unity, it does this too. It triangulates. We don't want Unity to do it for us. We want to take away all possible n-gons, and then we will do this work. For when we pull it across, it's going to triangulate things properly. Otherwise, it's going to look terrible in Unity. You're going to have places where there's issues. There's places where there's issues, okay? And that's why it's important whenever you do some kind of cut or any kind of Boolean operation that we did, we need to go back there. Let's undo that modifier. We can undo the modifier. Right, there we go. Let's keep going. So we don't need the triangulate modifier. We can take it away. And then when we come back to the modeling, we're back to this. Okay, questions before we move on to the actual work? That was just your warm-up. Because I want to talk about some other techniques we might be able to use today. Okay, without having to do this stuff together. Any questions? Any confusion as to what we did? How about that? That might be a better thing. So yeah, so whenever we use this kind of stuff, and the great thing is we can select it. Let's suppose I go into one side and I go into wireframe mode, right? So I want to kind of go into wireframe mode now, and I want to do my B select for the bottom, and I want to kind of squish one side. I can do that nicely because it doesn't matter, right? Because we've used all these, and everything's going to squish out nicely. It's gonna. I can rescale from one side or the other. I can scale this way too, because guess why? I've got all this extra geometry to help me do that proper scaling, and it'll look right. Okay. I can even do now. I can start doing even a loop, cut, and slide again, and it actually does loops. Look. All the loops are going to work now, and they're all connected because we have proper geometry to make those cuts. Before we couldn't do loops anymore. Well, here's a problem. Here's a problem. This is what problem with the loop. And the reason why the problem with the loop is here is because it can do this to here, but then it doesn't know what to do over here, right?
Because on the side we have and gone again.
Where?
We should have horizontal line here.
Right here, right? So once you see this problem, now we can fix this problem, right? Well, this is the way we test it. So we're not quite done. We have an n-gon here, and we can go across there, and then right around, wrap around till we get there. So let's see if we can do that with a loop cut. So if I do this loop cut, right? And I can do this here. If I did that here, watch me for a second. And if I pull this down, this might be a quick way to resolve this issue. So now I've got a loop cut, which does a lot of the cut for me. Sorry. And I've got most of it here. There's a bit of work to do there, and there's a bit of work to do there. Again, I did that loop cut by eye. Let's undo that loop cut. And let's take it to the side where we can see it and zoom in so we can get some good control. Control R to do that loop cut again, and bring that loop cut as close as possible to what you're seeing. So something that looks like this. And then you can do your cut, your knife cut. It's not going to be perfect again, guys, because I'm just doing a thing, but we're taking care of that problem, right, which is the n-gon. N-gons will pop up when you least expect them. You may not even see them because you're like, how many n-gons do I have? That's actually, pretty bad, right? Right here. So you can see that that is our knife cut is not perfect, but it doesn't matter, right? At the end of the day, as long as it's all connected by a single line like this, then for the most part, we should be okay. Let's try those loop cuts. So loop cuts are okay there, here, 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 here. We can test them now, right? And they're not going to fail anymore like they did before. That's what we want. We want to be able to do loop cuts from anywhere. And that's a great way of testing if we've got n-gons. Nice. Thank you for that, Tatiana. Awesome, right? And now we can do more scaling. If I want to scale from this side, I can scale from that side as well. Let's do that. So again, let's take it to the side. Let's go into this mode. You can see how crooked things are. That's okay, right? And we'll use B select to select that side, and we'll just squish that side down too, something that looks like this. All right, so then we go back, and you can see that that's what it looks like now. So a shape that looks like it's been cut out. And you can play with this shape now because it's all scalable. Even if I wanted to scale the shape, as an example. So let's say I went back into layout mode and I wanted to scale the shape. It scales nicely, and I don't have any weird deformations in there. Questions around anything like that? Divyesh says, just a bit out of my head. Do you mean like it's over your head? Hopefully it's not too much over your head. Because at the end of the day, I want to think about quads. Again, guys, quads, 4 vertices. 4 vertices. Triangles, 3 vertices, right? We want everything as much as possible to be quads. Okay, let's do the real work now. Let's set up a new project. Okay, that was just practice. Like I said, new project. Who cares about this one? I want you to get rid of this thing right here. All right, let's get rid of it. So get rid of that, and let's hide these camera and lights again. We don't want to care about them. Okay, so we just have an empty project right now. I want you to add in a cylinder. Here's our cylinder. My job is to make a coin today. A coin, right? And I want to animate the coin. That's what we're doing today. Okay. Tatiana says mostly for texturing. Yes, it's exactly for texturing, and also scaling and other things we have to do. For deformations. For example, for animation, Tatiana, quads are the way to go. right? Especially for organic models. All right, so this is our coin, but we have 32 vertices. I really think that's way too many. Let's chop this down to something like 12, and let's see what that looks like. There's 12. Okay, not bad. All right, and now that we've changed these, just by adding the cylinder, again, let me undo those changes. So let's suppose I don't have a cylinder, and I add one in. Here's my cylinder. And then what I want to do is normally something like 32 up here, right, like this. It's kind of down here when you make your cylinder. You open this up, and you can change this number to 16 or 12. Let's make it 12. Cap fill type. Don't finish it. Cap fill type is n-gon. I want you to keep it at n-gon. There's also triangle fan as an option, or nothing. So nothing, no cap at all. Let's leave it at n-gon, and let's, before we move into thing, it says generate UVs. I can not have that if I want. Okay, and align to the world. This is important to note. Okay, now I want to be able to squish this down, so I want to scale it, so the S key, across the Z axis. So I want to scale it across the Z axis. You can do it this way, okay? Or you can do it with the tools on the left, which is a scale. So let's undo that change. So I want to scale it, S key, across the Z axis, some amount, so it comes in. And the number that I'm using right now on the Z axis is, let's suppose it's 0.15, just to make that coin pretty thick. There it is. Okay. Now, we know both sides of the coin are going to be the same, right? We know that. And I want to model one side, but I want the other side to be the exact same, right? What's the shortcut to add vertices? Maybe you want to make a W for, are you saying W for subdividing? Is that what you mean, Maria? W means when you go to modeling mode, right, when you want to subdivide from here to here, let's suppose I select the edge, and then I can do W, and I can do subdivide. And subdivide will add in a vertex right here. Okay, again, that's not really what we want to do right now, but that is something you can do. Is that what you're looking for? How to add? You can also cut it. So, okay, so let me ask this question now. So we want to be able to do the same thing on one side as the other side. We chose 12 as a number. Why? Because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on one side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the left side. And we want to do this mirroring thing. I want to do it from the top this time. From the top, I want to mirror from the top, and I want to make a vertical cut down here on the top and then get rid of the left side. If I did that, then everything on the right would be like the same as the left, but that's not what we want to do. We want to make it so that whatever we do on the top happens on the bottom. Okay? That's what we want to do. Whatever we do on the top happens on the bottom. That way I don't have to duplicate what's happening. Okay? The other option is we could rotate this coin. So I could say that instead of the coin being flat like this, we could rotate it. So let's look at it from the front. Here's the front. And then I want to rotate it some amount across the y-axis. So let's say we select all. Again, you go select all, right? And then I could, just to make it easier for you from a thing, I could rotate, that's R, across the y-axis, Y, 90 degrees. So again, it's R, then Y, then 90. Okay? Now it stands up, right? So we could cut it in half. We can use a loop cut for that. So Control R, and then press Enter, which cuts it completely in half, right? It's cut in half now. And I could remove half the geometry, just like I did before. So again, I'm looking at it from the front. I go into wireframe mode, that's Z, or you can choose this button up here, whatever you like to do. Deselect all by select none, right? These are all things we've done last day, by the way, right? And then I can just go back into vertex select mode, so I see all the vertices, right? And you can do that by clicking this little button right here, or Control and Tab. And then what I want to do is do B select mode. Again, B select mode, you can go to select and you can go to box select, right? So B select mode. And I want to select the left part of my object and then just delete those vertices, which means now I've got an empty wheel that's on the right. Just like we did last time, we're going to go back into our layout mode and we can see that we have half our geometry gone, right? When I look at it from the front, half our geometry has been removed, and we're going to add in a mirror modifier. Again, these are all things we've done before and before. Now we have the full coin again, but when it comes to modeling mode, you're going to see that we can only access half of the model when it comes to modeling. Are you with me? Have you done what I've done? Check mark if you're with me, X if you're not. This is part of your lab. Bunch of people, we got 9, 10, about half of you so far. Okay, hopefully you're good. Again, really easy, right, to do. Right, we've done this before. This is repeat, and this is practice for you again. Thank you for that. I will thank you for that feedback and clearing that feedback up. Okay, so now what do we do with this side so that we can make it look like a coin? Well, what I want to do is I want to extrude. So I'm kind of looking at it from the side. Here's the side now. So I press the 3 key for this. Remember, anything I do on this side happens on this side. So press the 3 key on the numpad, or you can go to view, viewpoint, right, numpad 3. And then what I want to do is I want to select all these vertices. I'm in solid mode. So that means if I select vertices here, I'm not going to select these ones right here, right? So just select the vertices that I can see, all of them. But it only selects this edge. You can also use other selection methods. All right, and then what I want to do is I want to extrude, press E, and then enter, and then scale, S to scale in, like this. S to scale a little bit. Let's repeat those steps. So undo, undo, right? So I want to press E to extrude, and then enter right away. So E, then immediately enter, right? Which means I actually have duplicate geometry now. I have vertices on top of vertices. You can't see them, but there's duplicate vertices here. Okay? And now what I want to do, right, is I want to scale. I want to press S for scale, right? And then when I do it, when I press the S for scale here, right, then it allows me to scale inward, right? And I want to scale just a bit to create an edge inside here, like so. And then press enter. Okay, so I've got this edge here. And on the left, you see the resize value that I have is 8.45. Let's just make that to 8.5, just to make it easy. And I'll do it for all of them. And if I do, you're going to see it looks wacky, like really wacky like this. If I don't, right? And if I go back in here, if I don't, and if I undo, and if I undo again, I'm back to this. So let's do it again. So again, from the side, select everything just to show you. And then I'm going to go E to extrude, enter, right? And then I'm going to go S to scale, in, and I want to select until I get to about, again, something like here, where I have something like 8.5 or 8.6. Again, it looks over here, but I can't modify these values because I'll have wacky things happen to me, okay? So I could do it. I could go 8.5, so I go about 0.85, and then 0.85, and then 0.85, just to be accurate. You can't see the divisions here, but they're actually there. Okay, nice. Now, what about if I was to pull this up? So if I would use the G key and pull it up, it looks like some weird thing going on, right? And that's not what I want. I want to extrude again. Okay, I want to extrude again. So again, this time I want to look at it from the front, and I do want to go into wireframe mode. So press the Z key or press this wireframe mode. I still have these vertices selected, by the way. Okay, so I'm looking at it from the front. I have some vertices selected, and then I'm going to press E to extrude, and then enter, and you can see what's happening. Both sides kind of go down like this, and they go towards the middle. And then my values are negative 0.08, I'm going to say. Negative 0.08, just to be accurate. So everyone has the same exact one as me. Now it looks like this. Let's see what this looks like from a layout perspective. It looks like the coin looks like this. Yay, look at that. But I have a problem. Remember we just talked about the problem? This is the exercise now. Okay, cool. I want to solve it on one side so it gets solved on the other side, and I want to make quads. I don't want n-gons. Let's see if we can help ourselves and make this work. So here I am, deselect all, go back into solid mode, and now let's look at things from the side view, from 3. Okay, so this is the side view. Now, let's see what we can do to make n-gons. And let's keep it simple, guys. Okay, keep it simple. I know I can probably do this, but that would not solve my problem. It might actually cause more problems. I can go this way across, right? And that would solve one, but then I would still have the other problem across the other side. Luckily, we're going to have a lot of different things. We could do this way, but how do we separate this shape into proper n-gons? Wait for a second. Let's explore before you do it. Okay? And remember, we want to be very careful not to select this one, but only the bottom ones. So you got to take it from a bit of a perspective to see this. Okay? So, and by the way, we could have done this beforehand as well in preparation. We could have split it another way. We could have done mirroring on both sides, right? That's another thing we could have done. So I could continue to chop this up, right? And I can chop this geometry away. I could do that, right? And I could solve this as a triangle fan, but that's not what I want to do. Okay, so let's do this cut, and I want to do it so that we can see the cuts I want to make. So I can't do a loop cut. If I press Control R, you can see that that is not happening right now because we have n-gons. It's not allowing me to do a loop cut in here. Okay, I can do a loop cut the other way. I can do a loop cut this way because there's no n-gons there. Look, this is no problem, right? But here, it tells you, it shows you there's some n-gon that's preventing you from doing it this way, right? So that's what we're doing here. We're going to make a cut that goes from here to here first. And let's see what happens if I do that. So if I said, what about if, and this is how it's difficult, what about if, I'm going to zoom in so we can have more ability. I want to get this vertex right here, and I want to cut it to that one. That's the first one I want to make that cut. Does that solve any problems? Well, it does divide it. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this side, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this one. I could do this, could cut this way, but then I'm going to make triangles. I don't want triangles. I want quads. So if I did that and I went across this way, right, that could do it as well. So let me undo that cut. What about if I did it the other way? What if I said that I want to cut across this way? So I wanted to do something like, I want to make this one to this one here. And then I want to do this one to that one there. Does that solve my problem? You know, if I did it this way and without getting, I don't want any kind of, kind of things. And if I keep going like that, by the way, it doesn't matter which way you do it. I'm just showing you that you can try something like this, right? But now we have this issue. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1 here, this vertex here, 2, 3, 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's actually not an n-gon. That is a quad. Look over here. There's a quad there, and there's a quad there. There's a quad here, and here, and here. See that? Let's try that again. Let's undo. What about if I did it the other way? What if I did it from here, right? What if I did it this way? Right? This way doesn't make any sense, by the way, guys. This way will cause I mean, most likely will cause n-gons. But let's see. So here's another one. And what about this one? Well, that's 4, right? So that way it might work as well. Let's try it out. Let's try this. So I'll go here and then just go down here and make a cut. And we'll keep doing this way. So just joining those edges. So this one and that one in there and make a cut. And we have, you know, those ones. And let's just do this one. And I'm gonna show you the other way of doing it. So this is the other way, straight up. But we don't want to do this thing, right? But now we want this one. Okay, we have this one, and now we have 1, 2, 3. That's a triangle. So that would be the bad thing about this one, right? So triangle, right?
If divided like pizza on 6 pieces, we will have
1,
6,
2, 3, 4, 5.
On
This way. Yes, you can do that too. You can do pizza in 6 places, and you'd have quads all the way around.
6 in total. Yeah.
That's absolutely fine too. But it really depends on what kind of shapes you want to make later on. So this is definitely the way you could do it, right? But then you would have another one. You could also make a cut here, and then you could cut across. So here's another one you can do, Tatiana. So you can do this one. Watch. You can do here to there, right? And you can do the same thing on the other side, here to there. Right, and then once you have that, you can cut across from here, right? And you cut across, right across, and then get rid of the 2, like this. So you do one of these. You cut this one across this way, and then what you do is you get rid of this one and this one. You just dissolve them, right? So now, again, you have another way of doing it. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and no n-gons, and these are quads as well. What are your thoughts? But there's issues with all these methods. The great thing is now that if I was to stop mirroring, it's going to create proper geometry. One thing that's different with my version compared to the pizza version that Tatiana's talking about is the loop cuts. Look at that weird loop cut I get there. And here, those are okay, right? Those straight loop cuts. But this one, it's like I get smiles on this one and this one. Look at that. I get weird loop cuts. I mean, they work, but just FYI. That's just the way it works, right? So what are your thoughts? Do you think this one's better this way, or do you think that what Tatiana said, which is better, which is from the center? And what kind of cut would that give me in the middle? Well, the great thing is, if I did it her way, right? If I did it this way, you have those weird things, right? Let's undo, undo, undo. Bring that back to the way it was. And let's do what Tatiana said and the other way. So now here's the other thing. How do I proceed if I was going to do here? I want to make those pie slices, right? I want to make those pie slices in the middle. How do I do that, right? Because there's going to be some duplication, right? So I kind of come across this way. So that's what I could do. So cut across this way. Make that first pie slice. And then here's the first pie slice from here to here. So I could do that, right? So there's the first one. And now I got the middle geometry too. The middle part is done. And now I just need the other ones, which is just this one to this one. And then with a few cuts, I have quads. And if you can't see the quad, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Each one of them is 4. Each one of them is 4. So what does this do? So if I was to do a loop cut and slide now, and if I did that, you'd have these kind of loop cuts all the time. Right? So again, just keep that in mind. Depending on how you wanted to deform this later on, these are the kind of loop cuts that it would provide. Okay? Okay. Again, one thing I like about Tatiana's version is I believe there's less faces than mine. Because there's only 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 6 on the bottom. And I had more. I think I had more because of the extra weird. I cut it in half, right? So it was like almost double. Okay, so this is kind of a lower poly model than the other one. All right, we're going to go with this one because I really like what this this way of doing it better. This is a much nicer way of doing it. Thank you very much. And now that we have this one, let's save Blender. So save. And just like we did before, what I want to do is I want to, well, we're going to make a brand new folder for this. We're going to call it COMP397. And this is just our week 5 sandbox, or our workspace, whatever you want to call it. And inside there, I'm just going to call this coin.blend. So coin.blend. Yay. Great. I want to add a material now, because we're going to add a material, and we're also going to add a texture. Please do not apply the modifier yet. Okay? Please do not apply the modifier. Let's go back out to layout, and you can see that this looks like a coin on both sides. Nice. Very nice, nice. And what I want to do is I want to go to material, and let's add in a material. So let's add a new material. There we are. We'll call this material gold material, like a gold coin, right? And we want to change this base color so it's a golden color. Again, we can use hexadecimal values for this. So we can say gold hex color, right? And you're going to see a gold color that looks like this. To me, it looks like FFD700. FFD700. Again, we're going to have to adjust this in Unity, but this is just for our purposes here. FFD700. Right? And it looks like it's gold. Right? We've applied the gold material as everywhere to this object. Right? And you can see what it would look like. So kind of this goldy view. But I want to get metal. I want to make this look like metal, and I want to apply a texture. How do I do that? I want to make it scratched up looking and everything else, right? So where do you get this texture? Well, let's go to textures.com and see if we can find something online to have that. So we'll go to textures.com, and I want a metal material. Notice that these are different kinds of material that we can use. Here's some metal, right? And it gives us some examples of some metal that we want to use, right? And there's some scrap, and there's some scratches. Oh yeah, scratches. The scratchy metal material, right? And you can see that there's rusted scrap and scratches. I want to click on scratches, and it's a scratchy coin, right? We got to be careful because we want our texture to be seamless like this, right? So that's what we want, and this can create a problem. That's also something that we can use. It's an 8K texture though, be careful of the size. And we could look at something that is fairly scratched up, that's not bad, but seamless. Seamless is the way to go. Again, this is going to give us a challenge. That's why I'm choosing this one. So let's choose this first one. I'm going to choose the first one. But you want to choose one that has less, like this is like rusted, like a rusted coin. That's what it's going to look like afterwards. And there's this area here that's pretty messed up. So we want something more generic than that, like scratches that just look like scratches, like maybe something that looks like this. So 2K texture, but we can probably choose something that like that, which is seamless, but not 4K. I don't want a 4K texture too much, so something like that looks like this. And if you choose that, you can see that there is a texture, but we want something that is like 1024 by 1024, like a squarish texture as much as possible, because otherwise you're going to see something that is weird. So it's not quite what we're looking for, not quite. And I don't know. What are your thoughts? There's some other things we can choose too. But I want more of a squarish texture like this, right? Although I wouldn't mind something that has either gold already in it. Like here, the 8K texture is okay, but it's just one big texture and it's too big, right? And it's too massive. Like it's just going to be too much load for us to use. This is okay, but it's blue. We could make this work.
Try to find gold in the search.
I could do gold. I could do gold. Yeah. And there's some really great gold textures here as well, right? So this is gold, right? And that's okay to do something that looks like this. There's also polished brass and fine metal and everything else. There's fake gold paint. So that's kind of weird. That's almost like a fake gold coin. That might actually work better than real gold. Old gold, right? And let's see if there's anything else down here that we want to find. you know, if that has more of a texture than just flat. Otherwise, we could just use color and that's it, right? All right, well, we don't have anything that I can see. I want to go with one of these balls that looks like that we see here, right? So let's go with this one, this fake gold paint. And let's see what we can get here. Okay, now this is, just a warning, this one is a 8K texture. But this one, there's two. There's a 512 by 512 as well as a 1024 by 1024. And I'm thinking I'm probably going to go, for now, it's easy for us to step down, but it's not ever easy to go up. Let's go with a 1024, a 1K texture. So I'm going to click this one. I'm going to put this up on eCentennial, so don't worry. We're going to call this gold texture. That's what we're going to call it. So gold texture. And we're going to save it inside of our sandbox. It's a TIFF file. Beware of this as well. It's not a PNG, it's a TIFF, right, as well. That's really big compared to normal. Let's put this up online for you now. So on my eCentennial, let's go here where it says live session, and I'm going to add in that gold texture. Okay, so you can see that gold texture now. There it is, gold texture. Go grab it from eCentennial, please. Scratch gold. Which one did you pick? Oh, that's not bad. I like that one too. That's from CG Bookcase. Yeah, that's also okay. And you don't want that. You want something like 1K. If you're going to choose this one, choose 1K if you're going to go there, right? And it also has, good thing about this one, it has the base color, height map, a normal map, and a roughness, and a bunch of other stuff, which is very nice. Having this kind of stuff is very cool, especially these ones, because we can make our own stuff. Here on textures.com, with this one only gave us this, doesn't give us anything else. Okay, just FYI. Now, notice that there is a albedo, a height map, a normal map, a roughness map, and a metallic. Let's grab them all. So here, I'm going to grab the same thing. I'll grab them for you. So this is gold texture, and this is a, just to show you, a height map. So I'm going to say H for height. So we're going to code this. So H. Come on. There. And I'll do the same thing with this one. And this will be a normal. So again, this one, and we'll go, come on. And we'll do this one, roughness. We'll get all of them if we can. Let's see what they'll allow me to do for free. Right, so gold texture, R for roughness. And I'll even get this one for metallic. So again, this one, M for metallic. And I'll put those up on eCentennial as well. So that is gold texture. We'll go with the height map, normal, the roughness, and metallic. Those are all your textures. You got them all now. I put them on there for you for the coin. And what about the just to give you that as well? Let's give you my just to start. If you couldn't get for those people who couldn't get this ready to go, let's just save this in Blender, and I'll give you this too, just to start you off. So if you're behind, you can catch up now. All right. So again, I'm just going to go with downloads and in my sandbox, and I'm going to give you that coin blend as well. Okay, so you should be able to download this coin Blender file. I'm just going to change I'm edit my properties in place. Coin blend starter. All right, so this is the starter file that you can use, right? It's not complete, but it gives you some stuff that you can use just in case you're not great at what we did. Yeah, we can do our shades in Blender, no problem. We could do that, but I'm going to do this here first because this is what I want you guys to do today. All right, so now that I have all those things, we can see that we have some slots for all this. I have roughness, right? I have metallic. I have a normal map down here, right? And do I have a height? I have a tangent, but I don't have a height map. I don't have height. So I have rotation. I have everything else here, but not height. Metallic, roughness, and a bunch of stuff. Let's start adding them in, and then we'll talk about UV unwrapping this. So first, add the textures is what I'm saying. And instead of adding a texture slot, we're going to add a bunch of texture slots here all at the same time. Ready? So here's the first one. We've got the first texture, which is going to be for the base color. So again, I'm going to go image texture, right? And for the base color, I'm going to select the texture. I'm going to open up a texture inside of this. It's just going to be gold texture by itself. And then press open image. And to see it, you're going to see it here. Okay, so that's kind of the texture. It's not quite right because remember, we haven't unwrapped it properly or anything like that, but it's there. That's the first image. And it's kind of hard to see. We can also put it under a light, and we can turn the lights back on so you can see what it looks like. Okay, a bit of issues up here for sure, but it's trying to render the image. Let's also bring the light closer. So if we kind of go out to that light, zoom out, and then we select that light, we can bring it closer so you can see what it looks like. Now we saw what it looks like unlit, but we can also bring it closer to get that effect kind of from the corner here. All right, so this is what the thing would look like rendered. Okay, that's how it looks rendered. Let's continue with that rendering, and let's go back to my cylinder, which I want to rename as coin. So let's call this coin. There we go. We got the gold material, and let's keep going with this gold material. So we got our first texture, which is here. Okay, and now let's add in the next one, metallic. Let's go just down the line here. Metallic next. So we're going to go to image texture. That's what I want to put in here too, right? So metallic is there, but then what we want to select is an image texture, right? So there it is, image texture. And we can do again, open. We can select M for metallic and then press open image, right? So now you've got a bit more of a shine to it. That's what it is. There's a metallic texture. All right, let's keep going. So we have specular, we're not changing roughness. Let's change that one. So roughness. And again, what I want to do is I want to get an image texture on this as well, on the roughness, right? So again, here's roughness. And if I scroll, do I see somewhere where there's an image texture? Can I do it? Is there? Well, if I scroll enough, then the answer is yes, I will. Here it is. Just got to scroll. And again, just like before, I can open it, and I can go with R for roughness. Open image. Okay, there we go. So we got roughness. We got to make, we can put all this stuff in this one coin. Haha. All right, cool. And let's keep going. Color space is okay. RGB. We can also change that to linear. Linear is a better approximation than RGB. If I click that to linear color space, right, you're going to see that that is a bit better in terms of an approximation compared to the other stuff that's there. But we can also leave it at RGB. It doesn't matter. Let's keep going. So then if we scroll down to the next one, I don't see some of the other ones, but we do see normal. Let's grab that normal map. Again, I want to choose image texture right here. So again, you can see that I want to select that, and what we need is to see that image texture here. So again, what we don't want is for me just to apply a texture. I want to apply an image for the normal map because that is the proper thing to do. Notice that the texture here that I get is a Voronoi texture, but I don't have in here the ability for me to scroll and add an image. Notice that? There isn't a link for that here, right? Just FYI. Okay, we're going to add it later though. And besides, this is just a test because a lot of this stuff we're doing right now is, well, it's nice, it's excellent, but it's not going to do anything for us because at the end of the day, right, we're going to bring this into Unity and see what it looks like. All right, so again, hard to see. There's our gold texture. We can get a preview of what it would look like here. This is kind of what the gold texture looks like. And I want to make it shiny, and we can still do that with specular, kind of a specular amount. So I can increase the specularity, right, to make it super shiny. If I lower it, it becomes more matte, right, so something a little bit more. And we already have our metallic. I don't want to make it emit anything, but for the most part, this is our coin. Now, what about UV unwrapping? We can do that in the UV editing mode. So in UV editing mode, right, remember, we haven't unwrapped anything because we're still mirroring. For now, when we unwrap, I want to unwrap everything when I'm not mirroring anymore. So go back to layout, please. Go to your tool, the wrench tool, and apply your mirroring, please. So that way both sides now can be accessible. So again, if I go into modeling mode, you should see everything accessible on both sides. Okay, nice and nice. When I go back to UV editing now, right, as an example, I want to select all, and you can see that there are some faces that are okay. And this is our actual material. It's a kind of a scratchy metallic material that we've chosen, that fake gold material, right? And certainly we've got some slices that look like this, but let's try unwrapping with a smart UV project, right? And if I chose that instead, well, it's actually worse. It's actually worse if we did a smart UV project, all right? The other option for unwrapping...
You could scale it now along one axis.
I could. That's the one part that I'm missing. So I could scale it this way because it looks compressed. So I could say scale it across, this one, scale it across just scale it across the y-axis until it looks more rounded, but you can see it's still skewed. See that? Even if you scaled it across this axis, it's kind of skewed. So that's not really great. Let's do another type of unwrapping first. So the other way we can do it is we can do it by looking at it from different viewpoints. So I can say from this point, I want to get, again, make sure that when you do it this way, you zoom in and stay with that level of zoom. So I could do unwrap, and then I can do, we can try other types of unwrapping, right? For example, this one is project from view, right? Project from view does exactly what we see, right? Project from view. So we did this side, right? And well, because we did all of them are unwrapped, because if you look at it from the other side, if you look at it from the front, that's unwrapped, but these are not done right because they're all selected. And also this side's undone, which is okay, but this side, the top side, and the bottom side are all messed because it's, where do you see them? Do you see them all? Not at all, right? So what we need to do is deselect all over here, right? Select the side view, so that's number 3. Don't move your middle mouse wheel for a second. And only select, just B-select the sides that you can see. So again, I'm going to select just B-select, please do not put your, what you don't want to do is put in the B-select with wireframing. We don't want that. We just want from one side, only the top ones. We'll do the other ones in the middle later. But first, just do these ones. So project from view. So again, unwrap, project from view. Now you got this ones. Okay, now let's go with the other side. To go on the other side is Control 3. That skips around the other side. And deselect all, please. And now do again. Just do a box select only those. If you did a box select only those, right, those faces, then we can do this as well. So we can do unwrap, project from view. Nice. Excellent. Okay. And we can look at the front. Here's the front. And like I did before, I can just do box select the front, right? Now you can see that there's stuff missing. There's stuff missing. There's like these this is what you're going to get, by the way, right? And, again, I'm not moving my mouse. I'm just staying with the same, because if I want to move my mouse, it'll change the perspectives. So definitely a way of doing it. I could project from view, right? There we go. There's project from view, and nice and straight now, right? And we can do it the other way. So Control 1, we go on the other side, and we can say we can kind of box select again, and we can unwrap and project from view. Yay, right? Do it from the top. And if we, once we start doing this stuff, top and bottom and everything else, we notice that there's some vertices, these ones here, and the ones on top are squished. So we're going to deselect the sides when we do this, okay? When we go to the top view, right? Deselect all, and we're going to select the top, but what we're going to do is also deselect this one and this one. So deselect, undo. Go into face select mode, please, and deselect this face, this face, this face, and this face, and then unwrap from view. There we go. And now we're going to go from the bottom, Control 7, which goes from the bottom, deselect all, select my faces, and then deselect the ones that I haven't seen. So again, I don't see this one, this one, this one, and this one. And then we're going to unwrap those. And we're almost perfect. And this is where we're going to change our view from the front, or sorry, from the side. This is okay, but the problem is when I select all, what about this part? This part, this part, this part, this part, this part, and this part. It shows it's been unwrapped, but let's unwrap it again anyway. So project from view, please do that. As well as Control 3, wrap from the other side. And let's do the same thing on these ones. So this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Project from view and unwrap. Right? And now we're going to use our mouse wheel, okay, just to turn it, not to scale it. Please don't change the viewport, because this is the problem. What about these ones? Those ones aren't done, right? And, well, there is an issue here. So let's show you what I'm talking about. So this is what they look like. This is what they look like. And we only want to do these ones as well as these ones, okay? So notice that they are together. Now here's the great thing. We're probably not going to notice these ones, okay? We're probably not going to notice these ones because they're inside. They're not going to be something that we're going to look at or we're going to fret over. They're not going to be perfect ever the way this is right now, all right? So we could try and use Smart UV Project for those, right? And see what happens. And if they don't work out, this is kind of what they do. It makes them all straight, which is not terrible, guys. Honestly, it's not terrible to make them this way because we're not going to see them anyway, and you don't want to make them irregularly sized from one view. So now when I select everything, you see this, okay? That's what you see. And what we can do is, again, we can select all here. And just so it's not, the scratches aren't terrible, we're going to scale it up at least by a little bit, okay? So we're going to go to resize, and we're going to something like 1.5. Scratches are going to be there, but they're not going to be terribly bad, right? Make sure that all of these are the same, please, so that it's not skewed, okay? And now, if I want to see what it looks like, let's go back into layout mode. And let's inspect what we got. It's not bad. We've got a little bit of a shiny coat there. Back view you can't see, but you don't see many problems, and it's not terrible. It's not terrible. Good. Save. The other thing we want to do here is we want to pack all of our files, right? And inside of, this is different every single time. They've modified it. But I believe we can do it in UV editing mode. I think it's an option that it becomes available to us in here as well. Maybe not. Let me just search it up. Let's go back into layout mode. So I want to do pack resources. There we go. And the reason why I wanted to pack those resources is because that way those resources will come and they'll keep the geometry with Blender, and we're good to go. All right. The other thing I want to do is I want to bring up the numeric transform, and notice how I have scaling on these things and dimensions. I want to normalize these. So I want to use Control A. So Control A. And when I use Control A in layout mode or object mode, Control A, then it'll say all transformations. And notice the scale goes away, which is what I wanted. Save. Save your Blender file. Excellent. Now, the animation. Okay. So the animation is right down here, right? So just to show you that there's on the bottom of your of this thing, we can add in simple animation. Now, here's the thing, all right? It starts at frame 1 and it goes to frame 250. That's too many. Let's reduce this down to something like 30 for now. So change the end frame down to 30, and now we have 30 frames of animation possible, right, on the bottom here. Again, I just want to change this one. I pulled this up. It's actually at the bottom of your screen. Okay. Right now, if I click play, it just plays and there's nothing moving. Okay. There's nothing moving. Here's how animation works. Animation in Blender works in that we can add keyframes for different parts of the animation step. Okay. So what I can do is, again, I'm in layout mode, guys. I'm in layout mode. I could press the K key in layout mode to add in a keyframe. So if I want to add a keyframe, you can also search it up. So if I said keyframe, I want to insert a keyframe. That's I. That's the I key for me. Do you see that? Insert keyframe for I. Insert keyframe tells me what do I want to capture. This is the base position. That's what keyframes are. I want you to think about frame-based animation as I'm going to modify the position and all this kind of stuff of this coin, and it's going to create a loop where I keep on animating it. So I'll start off with, again, we want to go to frame 1, which is the first. That's the start. You can also start at frame 0, but I'm going to start at frame 1. I want to press the I key, and I want to change. I'm not going to scale it, right? But I am going to change the location and the rotation. Let's try location and rotation. Let's capture those two things. Notice how it makes those yellow, location and rotation. Now, what I want to do, right, is I want to move my scrubber, my head, to the next frame. So I want to kind of move it over, and I want to think about every couple of frames. So let's say the third frame, so 0, and then 3. By the way, we can compress this. For now, let's move it to 3, right? And I want to think about what do I want to do with this thing? I want to rotate this thing across the z-axis by 30 degrees. All right, let's try that. So across the x-axis, or the z-axis, 30 degrees. Let's try just typing in 30 in there and press enter and see what it does. So moving it to there, we want to capture another frame. So again, we want to use the I key to go location and rotation, and that's a second frame. And if I go back, it's going to change it from here to there. Look at that. Kind of does it from here to there, right? Let's go back to number 3. So the third frame, okay? Again, all I'm doing is I'm rotating the thing, changing position, and do the same. Let's go to the next frame. I'm going to go to frame number 5, right? Again, I'm going to rotate this from 30 to 60. So again, rotate across the z-axis, and I want to rotate it some amount. So let's make it 60. There we go. And then capture that. So press the I key and location and rotation. Again, if you want to scrub it, you can see what it does. Okay. So that's at 5. Let's move it to 7 every couple of frames, right? And then again, I want to move this to 90, right? And then press the I key, location and rotation. Keep doing it, 9. Move it to 120, right? And then you want to go to the I key, location and rotation. Move it to 12. Change this to 150, right? And then press the I key for location and rotation, right? And then let's move it to 13, 14. Okay, so from 12 to 14, rotate it to 180, and then press the I key for rotation and location, and then 16, we're going to go this, keep adding 30, right? So 30 is 210, right? And then let's press the I key, location, rotation, 18, right? Rotate it to 240, and then press the I key, location and rotation, and then add to the 20 mark, change this to 270, and then I key, location, rotation, 22, smooth 300, I key, location and rotation, 24, sorry, move this to 330, almost done, I key, location and rotation, and finally 26 frames, move it to 360, or do we even add one in? What you're thinking? Should I put one in or leave it there? So what does this look like right now? Before we move anything else, let's move it back to here. If I press play, it does this. What are your thoughts? Should I add another one? Or what if I change this? Because we only have these keyframes. I have 1, 3, 5, right? So 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 2 is 5, plus 2 is 7, plus 2 is 9, plus 2 is 11, plus 2 is 13, plus 2 is 15, plus 2 is 17, plus 2 is, and so on, right? So I've got a bunch of keyframes, right? And I've got to 20 and 22. This is 22, look, 22. And I went to about right here. So this is where we were here at 330, 24 frames. What if I change this to 24 frames? So I said, I don't want more than those, right? And if I press play, then it's going to do this. You don't need to. So this play is actually a clip. That's what it does. It's playing a little clip, right? And the great thing about this is this is the first part. Let's press save to save the blend file. This is important. And then what we want to do is I want to look at the animation graph here, okay? So this is something you can look at here, right? And you can actually play it in the animation version. So what the animation does is it allows us to see our object in all of its glory, right? So we can kind of look at the object. You can see what it does, and you can see as a summary all the stuff it does. Location, right? X, Y, and Z, and Euler rotation on X, Y, and Z. That's what it's doing. And these are all the keyframes from keyframe. Let me just zoom in here again. So if you scroll in, you can zoom in, and you can see that even if you made a mistake like I did, where I kind of started off at, I can zoom in pretty much, right? I went from keyframe 1 to 3 to 5 to 7, then skipped 9 and went right to 10, and then 12, and then 14. These are all the keyframes. What if I want to move all of these or all of these around? How do I select them? So if I deselect all here, right? Then what you can do is I can box select again. This is a beautiful thing. Look, I can move these keyframes around. I can press the G key and move them around from one thing to the other thing. So I can change the order of my keyframes and where they get captured. Okay, that's the important part, the information. So if I want to squish this up, or if I want to expand it, or if I want to make it other things, like for example, I want to move my 10 and 12 and all these ones, I want to move it to the left one. So I can deselect all, use box select for my animation. This is amazing what you can do, right? And then you can just choose to press the G key, and then I just move it one to the left. And now everything is exactly proportional. If I made the wrong move, I've saved myself now. I've made it, and I can change the end frame to the 23rd frame. So I don't have that 24th frame anymore. So now if you notice, it just goes like this, and it's perfectly in sync with each other. It changes all those values. And I can also make changes to some of this stuff. So I can activate certain frames, right? And I can edit them. Right now I'm in object mode. I can go into edit mode, right? For each of these things. I can change the geometry, and I can animate how the geometry works and everything else. I can take things apart, put things back together, it's truly an amazing thing that you can do, right? In terms of the control you have. But this is good enough for me. We could have also made the coin dance. I could have made it move up and down and also keep track of its location. I'm not going to do that. I'm just caring about its rotation. I just want it to rotate around without a script. Okay, let's go back to our layout mode now that we've fixed everything and try it out again. See how it works. It's nice and it's smooth. Okay. We have a clip. Cool. Let's save it now. Okay, we saved the Blender file. And now you should have a bit of animation. And let's export it. So we're going to say File, Export. And remember, all I want to export is by coin, right? FBX. And here, this time, I want to grab my mesh, right? I want to definitely grab my mesh. Only selected objects, right? I don't care about the camera or lamp or armature or other, but I definitely am hoping that we can also grab my animations, right? That's what I'm hoping that we can do, right? Can I grab my animations as well? Because I've got some additional information here that I have, right? So camera and empty and the active collection, but notice that now up here, I'm just going to show you something. Inside of the coin, I have an animation as well. Take a look at that. The coin action is what it's called. By the way, you can always change what this is. So if I double click on the coin action over here and change the name of it to something like, rotation clip. Rotation clip. You can do that. Here's a rotation clip. This is what's going to come into Unity, right? So I've got my animation, the rotation clip, right, and the cylinder. Let's change the cylinder to coin. So we know that that's what it's going to be called in Unity when it comes. Anything we change here is what we want. Okay. And save, please, and try it again. Let's go File, Export, and FBX. And then when I go here, I want to just say Selected Objects from my coin. Get rid of everything except for the mesh. I don't care about the other stuff, the armature, the lamp, and all that stuff. And if I click Custom Properties, it doesn't really do anything because I don't have any custom properties. Scale, Geometry. It says these are all the geometry, the piece of geometry I have, right? Armature, if I had an armature for a thing. But that's it. It doesn't ask me for animations or anything like that. Let's see what happens when I do that. I'm going to export the coin into our sandbox and click Export. Oh, it also says Bake Animation. Okay, here's my, bake my animation, get all the key bones, if there's any, and it says sample rate is 1:1, leave it the way it is, and then export. Cool. I'm going to put this FBX up on eCentennial right now. So we have that FBX as well. So again, I'm just going to refresh the screen. And I'm going to put that coin in here. Now, again, you may think that making a coin in Blender is simple, but we did a bit of an exercise. And the other thing that we also did was we did a little bit of animation, and I complicated just a little bit for you just because I wanted to get you guys to think about some stuff. Because you can make this really super simple. We could have been done in 2 minutes. But I also want you to take away some more tools in your toolbox to do more things outside of Unity before you come into Unity. The more you do stuff outside of Unity, the better the stuff you're going to get in Unity a lot of times. All right, let's open up the Unity file, and then we'll take a short break if we can before we complete everything. All right, so we've got all this, and that's nice. What we also want to do is go to our desktop, and last time when we got together, again, we've got 2 sections for you guys. You guys are section 2, and I did section 1 on Friday. So here's section 2, and inside of section 2, we see that there is week 1, 2, 3, 4. We're at week 5. Let's make a brand new folder. So again, new folder. We'll call this COMP397 in the winter 2022, and then week 5. And we'll grab everything that's inside of week 4 other than the library folder and the last SLN file. So we don't care about this one, and we don't care about the library folder. That was actually a mistake. We should remove that last time. Copy it, and go back to week 5 and paste. Awesome. Let's open up this in Unity now. So again, going back to Unity, I want to open it up, and then we'll take a short break. So here we are. So we're going to section 2. That's you guys. We have this one, number 5, and we have all this. Click open. Questions before we move on. Again, I've given you everything, so you can always complete your labs. The idea here is that also what I want you to do is practice and get some experience using this stuff, because as we move into more and more things, you have the option of making your own resources for your game. You have the option of making whatever you want, making it very simple shapes in Unity, right, as an example, texturing them, adding material, and bring them into Blender. Do it in Blender, bring it into Unity. And the reason why you want to do that is because it's original stuff that you made. No one can come at you for IP, and you can always add to it by downloading stuff from the asset store. That's true. But the more original stuff you make, the better it's going to be when you make your mobile game in the second half of the semester, because it's all going to be your stuff, most of it, right? Now, if you don't want to, or you don't have the skill for it, or you don't have the interest, it's okay to do it from the asset store, to get free resources from somewhere else. I'm never going to force you to make stuff. However, I recommend for the gaming students out there to do it, because it's going to be better for your portfolio as much as possible, and also for your understanding. The more you understand how meshes are formed, when you bring them into Unity, then you'll understand how they're put together, and then you can start thinking about them. How do I make it better? How do I change it? How do I, modify it? Is this a good one? Does it look okay? Is it too high poly? So too many polygons, right? Is there a way I can simplify it? If I took it back into Blender, is there a way that I can spend some time and fix it? Sometimes you'll get an asset from the store and it'll look terrible when you bring it into Unity, or it's not going to work properly, or when you rotate it, it's weird or something. And it's because of these deficiencies that we just talked about. Things like n-gons on the surface, that affect your surface shader and so on. All right, let's go back to scenes. So here in my scenes, I'm going to go double click, and I'm going to go back into my main scene. Right, here we are. Remember last time we got together, we kind of made this thing where I had the mini map. We're going to get back to that. I want to go back to my player. So double click on my player. Here they are. And remember, we just made our coin. Let's put the coins inside of the scene. So again, under models, let's see if we can drag and drop that coin that we just made, or that you can grab from the stuff I gave you. So again, I'm going to go downloads. I'm going to grab that coin FBX and bring it in. And let's see what I get when I bring that in. Here's my coin. Inside there now, I have a coin rotation clip. Look at that, coin rotation clip, which is a clip. There's no animator controller, but I do have a clip. And if I play it, you can see that it actually works. There it is, right here in Unity. And that's what I want to see, right? I want to be able to see this happening, right? Where I have my gold material. This is pretty cool, right? And I also have this. So that's what came in. Let's rename it to coin, capital C. When I bring it in, and I'm going to bring it into the scene like right here. It's pretty big, but that's okay. That's what I want it. I want this coin to be like really big in the scene. And then let's see if it does the animation in here, and then how it looks. So one thing to note is it's white because I don't have the gold material, and I definitely don't have the textures. So let's bring those textures in too. So again, grab those textures from the ones I gave you, and let's start bringing them in. So here's our gold texture, right? Then here's our height map and our metallic, as well as our normal map, right? And let's grab our roughness. And now we have all the gold stuff in here. But when I look at the gold material, which we're going to extract, I'm going to go to models, and I'm going to go to coin. And let's go to model itself first. Let's fix this problem. And just like we did before, we're going to add rewrite, generate colliders. I'm okay with that. We could use our own collider as well. If you want to simplify, don't check this, and we can add in a. Thank you. We don't have to have our own we don't have to add, this will add a mesh collider. We don't want mesh colliders for all these, too expensive. So we can uncheck this for now. But we do want to generate lightmap UVs, that's for sure. Let's click apply for that. And then the other thing we want to do is in our materials, let's extract materials. So extract materials to the materials folder. There we go. And what this does is in the materials now, we have the gold material, but there's only one thing that's in there, just this, right? Which is the gold material that we see here, right? So nice, but that's the material, okay? And it's unwrapped the exact same way we told it to unwrap, but that's fine. But how do we add all that other stuff back in? I mean, you know, we have our gold material and we have metallic. Let's add that back in. So let's see if we can get some of those. Here's the metallic one. So take that gold metallic and drag it in. That adds a metallic sheen to it, right? Again, a little dark for my tastes. And what we can do is we can change this a little bit. Normal map. It's going to ask me to fix it. I'm going to. Height map. So there's the height map. There's the height map for everything. Right, so that changed the geometry a little bit as well with that. So it makes it more goldy, makes it very shiny, because that's what those things do. But what about the other stuff? What about roughness and all that stuff? Well, there isn't roughness here. So what you could do is change the shader type to Autodesk Interactive. This is what I recommend, Autodesk Interactive. And when you do, you'll see that albedo, metal, roughness is there, and height is also there. Let's take that roughness and pull that in. And now you have everything. You have albedo, which is just the regular color, the metallic, which is this, the roughness, which is this, the normal map, which is this, right? And the height map. So you have all those things. Now, couple things to do, right? Because this is okay, but again, you should really take a look at what you got here, right? And see if you're happy with the coin. Great thing about this now, you've got a real shiny looking material that looks like a coin. You've got a bunch of textures. Please inspect the coin and make sure that it's okay, right? That's nice. And you can see that there's a bit of a sheen to it now compared to before and all that kind of stuff. One thing we don't have control over is we don't have control over the metallic. And when I'm doing this part, I can change the tint if I want to. Like, let's say for example, I wanted to make this instead of a gold coin, I wanted to make it a blue coin. You could do that, right? You can change the metallic tint to it with the same object, still the same shininess and all that stuff. Or you can make it even more yellow. If you wanted to make it yellower, you could do that. Just add more yellow to it, and it's going to be more of a yellow-ish coin, if that's what you want to do. Sometimes that really helps to really buffer out that yellow color, which is pretty cool. I could add a glow to it as well. So let's undo that change. And what about if I changed an emission value and I wanted to use a color HDR value to yellow, right? So I wanted to make it glow, right? Now, depending on how you do this could be really neat because it'll glow of its own color, right, as an example. And if you click there, you can actually boost up that color value like a whole bunch, right? So really boost that intensity up. Again, I don't recommend it. You don't need to make that glow that much, right? And it basically washes out a lot of the values in there. So yes, it's nice, but do I recommend it right now? I would say no. So if you go back to like 1, if you're going to go to 1, that's okay, or lower, like 0.5, or even lower than that. You can probably do its own glow, but then what you're losing when you do that is you lose a lot of the shine and a lot of that stuff that happens, because now it's going to glow. It's going to have its own little, color, if you will, and its own little, emission, right? So again, we can bake it, or we can do real-time illumination, or we can just turn it off, which I recommend. I think it's better, instead of having an emission quality, that we just change we just tint it slightly to make it more gold. So bring up the values here a little bit more. Yeah. Just gonna bring that up. If you're gonna tint it at all. Right. Cool. Well, how about animation? If you're going to do this, how are you going to do the animation piece now? Well, remember that the object itself, right, the coin, here's the coin, right? It looks like we're using Autodesk Interactive. This is the shader that we're using. Again, right in here, we can modify the emission value. If I really wanted to make it emissive, I could do that. I can make it so it's glowy, as an example. So it'll glow with a light of its own, if you will. That's what emissive does. If I want to do that, I can also turn it on if I want to make it pronounced, like, hey, you've got me. Here it is. I could also turn on something called GPU instancing, which is great if your object has that. Double-sided global illumination is good, but it adds kind of more and more computational cost. So I think the right thing to do is just leave it as is. And again, if you're going to have this at all, that's fine. But even this is probably too much. You can probably drive this value down a little bit. If I move it towards the white end, that's what the normal color is. And you can also turn off the whole tint altogether by removing the alpha transparency. So you can turn it completely off. If you don't want to, if this is the original, this is what it would normally look like, the coin, based on the stuff we downloaded, right? One more thing that we can also do, if you go with transparent, any transparency or anything like that would show up. So if we had a transparent side to it, as an example, if this thing was transparent, if it had transparency, you can look right through it, which kind of looks neat. But that's obviously not the one we want. There's also cutout, right? Which means you have a cutout, and as well as a fade, right? Same thing. But the one we want obviously is opaque. That's pretty cool. One other thing you can do, you can also try another shader. Instead of Autodesk Interactive, there is one more called Standard with Specular Setup. And Standard with Specular Setup, you can also look at this and see what the thing is. You do have height, you do have normal, you do have specular and albedo, but you don't have roughness again. Roughness is gone because Unity doesn't support it out of the box, right? I personally think that the Autodesk Interactive is the closest you're going to get to Blender, right? The closest. And if you really want to, and if you want to go back to the standard shader, it's the cheapest one. It's the closest one to what it is. There's metallic alpha and albedo alpha. Depending on what you want to do, you can use one or the other. And you can also change the smoothness down. For example, if you want to make it less smooth, because that's the roughness. You can also change the height map if you want to make it more scratchy or whatever. That's what you can do there. Okay. But I personally think Autodesk Interactive is the way to go. It gives you the most detail, and you can also change the normal map's value. Right now the normal map is 1. You can go with 0.15, which gives me a better, you can see that there's more scratchiness and on the sides of the coin. I think that's always better to do something that looks like that. The values are driven up way too high in my opinion, right? So you can change those values. All right, great. So that's a nice one. Materials. Let's look at the materials. Gold material. Lighting. Okay, you've got some lightings. You're going to cast shadows and receive shadows. Do I want to contribute to global illumination? Nope. You don't check that on, please. I could also add light probes if I really want to, but I'm not going to do that to make it even shinier and stuff like that and kind of display what that is. But I think this is probably a good start. Save. And let's bring that coin right now, as is, into a prefabs folder. So into prefabs. And then we want to make an original prefab that's called coin. which is pretty cool. So that's our prefab folder, right? Next, the coin does not have a animator controller. Let's add one in. So let's go add in an animator. Here it is. And notice that I don't have an avatar. That's okay. And I don't have an animator controller runtime. Let's go into assets and add in animations. So I'll make a new folder. Call that animations. And inside the animations folder, what I want to do is drag and drop in or make, go in there and right click, and I want to create a new animator controller. We'll call this the coin animator. Coin animator, right? And if you go to the coin, you can drag and drop this coin animator into the animator controller. There we go. Now, what we want to do is, I want to, if I run it, it's not going to do much yet. See how it doesn't spin? It's pretty big too, right? Which is what we want this to be. So how do I make this animation stuff work? Because we had it in our model. Here's my model. There's the animation, right? Here it is, the coin flip animation. If I run it now, you can see this is what it's going to look like, right? But what about in my prefab? If I go to my coin prefab, right? The coin prefab doesn't really have anything, right? It's in the model, but it's not here. Okay, cool. How do I add it? So going back to the model, I want to copy this animation. So Control D is what you want to use. Control D, which actually duplicates the animation, right? And once I have this animation here, Control D, this coin clip, I can take it and put it into animations. Take a look. Here's my coin rotation clip. What I did was I went into the models and I clicked onto it and I pressed Control D, which duplicated it. Okay, you don't need that now. So let's undo that change. So let's just delete it. But this one, the one I have in animations, is a copy. Let's double click on the coin animator. You notice that there's nothing, and if I drag and drop in the coin rotation clip, it becomes the main rotation, right? And let's just call this the rotation clip. So rotation. Okay, speed is 1. And if I click onto the rotation clip itself, I want to check on loop time. Loop time means it'll go forever. And now, if I press play, we should see the coin rotating if we did everything right. Or it just disappears somehow. So where did it go? Where did it go? Well, it did rotate, but it rotated over here inside the middle of our screen. Look at that. So why is that? Well, because we didn't just capture rotation, right? We also captured position. So even though the coin, and that's why I'm pointing this out to you, even though the coin is here, here's our coin, right? When I run it, I can actually look at the rotation animation, this clip. Okay, and by the way, we can modify it in Unity. Once we have it in here, we can do all kinds of stuff to fix it up. Okay, so again, what I want to do is go to Window, Animation, Animation, which gives me a new window. And when I click on the coin, it shows me the animation. And now we see that there's two properties that we have. We have the rotation and we have the position. Now, here's a beautiful thing. I can delete this whole property. If I remove that property, I don't care about position. I'm just going to show you this how it works. So it'll keep the position the way it is, right? Let's save. And then if I go back to my scene and I run it, we should be able to see the coin in the place we put it, rotating. No collider right now, right? But there it is. There's that coin. Okay. Questions around this? You need to change to, yes, you need to change to Autodesk Interactive, and then you'll have everything. All right, so now we have this coin, but we need some kind of collider, and we got to think about what kind of collider we need. Do I want to physically collide into the coin? And the answer is I don't. I want some kind of box collider. Let's add a box collider, right? So I want to go box collider, right? Which makes the box happen. There's that box. And if I was to run this thing now and look inside of the scene mode, right? You can see that the box also rotates. It's good enough, guys. And also jumps a little bit. Notice that jumping? It's hard to see, but it's there, right? But what I want to do is I also want to make sure that that box collider is a trigger. Here's my trigger collider. Okay. Save. And then let's apply all. So that trigger collider, what it does is, if I was to run into it, I could do a pickup. I could kind of detect that I'm kind of colliding with it. It might be a little big. I'll be honest. This might be a little big for coin. Like the coin itself might be a little bit. Let's try this to change this to 50% of the size. There's a coin. And we'll make it float exactly there. It's not going to fall. We'll make it kind of float kind of exactly there. And we'll kind of pass through it. Right, to give you a sense of what it looks like. There's a pickup for you in 3D. And then what we'll do is we'll save, we'll override, we'll say apply all. So everything is 50% every single time we bring coin into the scene now. And we can, you'll see that when I run it, you'll see that that coin is 50% of its size. And it looks pretty good. Your thoughts, guys. What are your thoughts? Now it kind of flips. See that little click, click, click? Why is that? Because we stopped it at the last point and it flipped over. These guys are too close. How do I stop these guys from coming closer? I know that I was asked that question. The robots, let's click these two robots and add in a empty parent. Create an empty parent here. And we'll call these enemies. Right? And also we see these markers. The reason why we see the markers is because we took away the settings in Unity. And so I want to go to under layers, and I don't want to see the marker layer in the scene. I don't want to see those anymore. We could add a marker for the coin. If I wanted to map out coins, I could add a marker so it could appear on the minimap. Because right now, what the minimap sees is this. Something spinning. Right? I see these guys, they're coming. Right? I can't jump over them. They're going to get me. Right? And they're going to corner me, or they're going to make me fall off the world. That's okay. And they're going to keep on doing that. They're going to come pretty close. What I can do with enemies, each of the enemies, is I can change the stopping distance. Right now it's 1.1. Let's make it something like 2. So it'll stop close to me, close enough to hit me, but not close enough to throw me off the edge. So if I do that, and if I made them stop at 2, stopping distance, and if I go back to this, we just picked up a coin, let's say, and these guys are going to stop. He's going to stop 2 meters away from me. Right? There it is. Right? So still pretty close, I find. This is pretty close for him to hit me. Let's try again. So let's go with, instead of 2, let's go with 3. And let's see how that does. Again, I'm just changing the stopping distance of the steering behavior of my nav mesh agent. Let's try that. Let's see where he's going to stop. There. That's better, right? But the other guy's going to push me closer too. All right? Pretty scary guys, right? But I can scoot around them now. Haha. That's the idea behind this. Give me some room to move. Do they find me? It's a kind of a cat and mouse game we can play, right? Where they either they found me or they didn't. Save. Let's exit Unity and put it up on GitHub. File, save. File, save project. File, exit. Okay, and let's look at that up. So show and explore. And it's here. There it is. I want to just delete the solution for from last week. So get rid of that. And now that we've got this ready to go, I think we can put it up on GitHub. Again, let's see if we use GitHub pages or did we use Gitkraken? We can easily tell if I pull up Gitkraken. And the way I can tell is if I go to look up the stuff from before. Let's just get rid of all this. And then you can see that if I had it, it'd be here. Right? So here's section 2 for 397. That's you guys. Awesome. Here it is. Let's stage all changes. Right? And then what we want to do is say added coin to placing or main scene. Commit those and push. And now we have another one that we've added in. Okay, questions before we take a short break. We're sitting at 5:49. I want to take a short break, 5 minutes, and then come back and finish. Anybody have any questions? How about remarks? Any kind of thoughts? What are your thoughts in terms of the coin? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Would you do it differently? Does it give you ideas? The idea, it should give you ideas. That's what I'm trying to give you. Some ideas about what to do, right? Any thoughts, guys, at all? All right, so I'm just going to open up Unity before we stop. And so we have it ready to go for when we come back. And what I'm going to do is, again, let's take 5. So we'll be back at 5:55 for the second part, which is the Unity part. Okay, let's do that. So again, just going to stop recording, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Right. Let's be back in 5 minutes. So again,